Well, Fox is confirming there will be a very meaningful get-together tonight. President Trump will host the parents of Otto Warmbier and some of Otto's friends for a private dinner this evening at the White House. As you know, Otto was the 22-year-old University of Virginia student who was falsely arrested and then tortured by Kim Jong-un's goons for 17 months. North Korea finally released Otto in 2017. He was in a vegetative state, deaf, blind, unable to speak. He had suffered horrible, severe brain damage, and he died shortly after he returned home in Cincinnati. So what does this dinner mean, and what could the Warmbiers tell the president about the regime that so savagely murdered their son? Frank Lamon joins us, former Undersecretary of Commerce for International Trade, also former ambassador to Singapore under President George W. Bush, currently chairman and CEO of Export Now, and is an Asian specialist. So, Frank, it promises to be a very special evening, obviously. What is the symbolism? Does it show Kim Jong-un that we as a country, as a president, as an administration, we will never forget a young American who died this way?
Well, I think that's exactly right, Eric. You know, the nuclear talks get a lot of attention, as they should. The missile talks get a lot of attention. The person-on-person diplomacy. All of these are very important steps, but let's not overlook the human factor. And this meeting elevates that human factor, elevates the very sad death of Otto Warmbier, and reminds the North Koreans, if you harm Americans, you are subject to paying a cost for that.
Have they paid a cost enough? The Warmbiers, for example, won $500 million in a lawsuit. They're trying to get some of the assets, even going to Europe. I mean, that hasn't happened. What message should be sent to Kim Jong-un dealing with Otto Warmbier and dealing with human rights, considering the way they starve their people and have work camps and one of the worst violators of human rights on the earth today?
Well, I think that's very fair criticism. I think the president has his priorities in the right sequence, which is in terms of possible damage or harm done, the #1 goal is stopping the nuclear tests and stopping the missile tests. So that's got to be front and center. After that, we'd put more of a weight on human rights, normalizing relations, Otto Warmbier. So you've got to keep it all in balance. So having this dinner is perhaps more symbolism than anything else, but it's the right kind of symbolism, and it does send the right message to North Korea.
And how do the Warmbiers navigate the fact that the president has heaped such praise on Kim Jong-un?
Yeah. Well, I think though, you've got to find a balance. You've got to have some kind of working relationship with the North Korean government. I'd be very careful about words used to describe them, because he's not deserving a lot of praise in my view, but you need a functional relationship with these folks, and at the same time you need to be to remind North Korea that we know what you really are. We know what's behind the mask.
You were ambassador to Singapore, so you know what happens behind the closed doors when it deals with diplomacy. And here's what Cindy Warmbier said earlier this year in Washington when she spoke about that. She called diplomacy a charade. Here is Mrs. Warmbier.
There's a charade going on right now. It's called diplomacy. How can you have diplomacy with someone that never tells the truth? That's what I want to know. I'm all for it, but I'm very skeptical. He lies, he lies, he lies, all for himself.
We know the president knows the reality of Kim Jong-un, so how do you balance diplomacy, having to reach out to that, and everything that Kim promises he hasn't done?
Yeah, that's a very powerful statement, isn't it? Your heart goes out to the mother, and I think it's words to the wise to say it's all well and good to sign an agreement with Kim Jong-un, but you better have some kind of enforcement mechanism, policing mechanism, because there's no guarantee that he is going to keep his word on this.
Can we ever guarantee that, or what type of progress do you want to see?
Well, we can do things with inspections of nuclear facilities. We can always detect missile tests, but he's violated statements he's made that he's not going to do testing, and then he tested. So it's sort of an ongoing game or ongoing manipulation exercise for him.
Do you think he'll ever ratchet down? Do you think he'll ever denuclearize?
Well, I think what his calculation has got to be something like this. He derives more value from being provocative, being outrageous, being a bit of a rogue, then he derives value from sort of collaborating and maybe economic benefits or joining the family of nations. So I think The challenge for the United States and for our allies is how do we change that equation to say, look, if you keep violating the laws, it's going to get worse. But if you stop, there's some opportunities. And that's part of President Trump's message to him.
That's what he said about the apple. I mean, dangling an apple in front of him, basically economic abilities.
I think you need carrot in that discussion as well as stick.
That's what I was trying to get to, carrot and stick. Speaking of stick, here's Mrs. Warmbier again, talking about the evil of that regime.
This is a problem. This is not only a nuclear problem. This is a problem that we're dealing with absolute evil. We can ignore it like I would have had this not happened to me. But I can't guarantee that something bad's not going to happen if we leave things alone.
Absolute evil.
Well, I'm glad the mother is out there with that message. And the one thing we can all say to all of our friends, relatives, other college kids, be careful about your travel schedule. There's plenty of places in this world to visit that are democracies that respect human rights. There's no need to go and see a dictatorship. You're putting yourself at risk.
And do you think they can ever reform?
I'm optimistic in general about human nature, but I don't think under this fellow. I don't think this fellow is the reformer. He's an establishment fellow.
All right, Frank Lavin, former ambassador to Singapore, president, chairman of Export Now. Frank, see more about that dinner tonight. We'll be reporting over the weekend.
Thanks,
Thank you for your insight.